So, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking through my goals for 2025, including a pretty special one or a pretty exciting one. You'll have to excuse the models up there behind me. For those that don't know, I'm an osteopath working in Herne Bay. I also work in a couple other clinics in Kings Hill and Chelsfield, which is near Orpington. I'll put the links to those down below, so if you do have any aches, pains and kind of niggles, injuries, anything like that, do come and see me. I'll be kind of glad to try and help you, but yeah, hence the models. I'm not kind of weird. Well, I am weird, but you know, 2024 didn't quite go to plan. Obviously starting off the year with a stress fracture, I mean, there's not many ways you can start the year off worse, but in terms of this year, I want to set some ambitious goals. I want to set goals that kind of excite me, and the way I'm going to do that is by setting goals that are attainable but are also pretty scary in terms of I'd be chuffed with them, you know, and that's the main thing. Going into some races, you kind of set goals that are maybe not quite what you'd like in the grand scheme of things, but they're kind of relative to where your fitness is at. These goals that I'm going to be setting, I'm at the peak of my fitness at the moment, so these goals are kind of taking me even further. They're into like an unknown world for me, and that's what's really exciting. So to start off with, I guess we'll kind of work our way up the distances, and then we'll end off with some goals that are kind of non-time related, if that makes sense. But it's always going to be difficult to kind of step away from time-related goals because we run, I don't know, go out for our 30-minute run or our 5-mile run, which is all kind of based on our time on feet. So starting off with the 5K, I recently ran a PB at the Battersea Park Podium 5K New Year's Eve event, and I ran 14:37. So going into 2025, I would like to obviously run a PB, but I'd like to go under 14:30. It was a weird goal. This is probably the weirdest one in terms of I didn't really know what to set, because 14:15 feels just that little bit out of touch, and obviously 5K being shorter than the other distances that I race, there's less room to play with. So if I improve by 1%, it's a lot less significant than say like the other longer distances, obviously. So yeah, sub 14:30 would be, obviously, I'd absolutely be chuffed with that. The 10K, obviously I haven't quite broken 30 minutes yet, but I feel like that's imminent. I feel like it's very much within my capabilities at the moment. So I'd like to run sub 29:45, so just that little bit ahead of that sub 30. Just kind of, I don't know, really establish myself as a sub 30 10K runner. That's definitely something that I'd like to do over this next year. And then kind of part of that 10K PB, I'd really like to get into like a really quick 10K race. That might be say like Telford 10K or the Leeds Abbey Dash or something like that. Because something like the Brighton 10K where I ran my PB, it's just, you're basically tossing a coin whether the wind is going to be in your favour. Whereas something like those other more popular events, it seems to be a little bit more of a guarantee that the weather's going to be good. As long as it's cool on the day, you pretty much always run well. So yeah, I'd like to head to kind of a little bit more of an established fast 10K, where I will run sub 30, but I'll finish 80th, you know, something like that. That'd be pretty mad. So moving on to the half marathon, I actually haven't had the opportunity to run too many half marathons at kind of peak fitness, especially not recently, but my PB is 67:26, or an hour and 7 minutes and 26 seconds. So this is probably not the most ambitious goal, but definitely the most ambitious goal in terms of the ones where I already have a PB, and I'd like to run under 66 minutes. I want to run 65 something, so that means I have to completely jump the sub 67 and then go straight down to the sub 66. So taking kind of a minute and 27 seconds off my PB, which is pretty ambitious, but again, over a half marathon, you've got a lot more room to play with. So it's probably just as ambitious as taking, say, I don't know, 15 seconds off your 5K time, kind of, maybe. So yeah, a sub 66 for the 10K is what I would just love to get to, that kind of 65 something. I feel like you're starting to really get the shifting once you get kind of below 66. Once you get below then even 65, you're getting into those kind of real, kind of proper good times, you know. Obviously, already running 67 minutes is good, but in terms of where I want to go, I just always want to get quicker. As soon as you take out improvement for me in this sport, I kind of lose all interest. So like, someone was to say to me, oh, you're never going to PB ever again, is that cool with you? Are you going to carry on training the same way you do? I'm going to be honest, probably wouldn't. I would just maybe do a little bit of jogging here and there, purely for like kind of mental health, but yeah, definitely wouldn't kind of go to the go to the kind of the well as much as I do in training, etc. And then yeah, so probably the most ambitious goal is my marathon goal. Obviously it's my debut, as previously mentioned. I'm going to be running the marathon with Start Fitness and Adidas, which is obviously very exciting. I'm fully aware, by the way, that by this collaboration with Adidas, I know I'm not a sponsored like elite athlete. I'm fully aware of that, just in case anyone's thinking, oh, Cole thinks he's now an elite athlete. That's not the case at all. I'm fully aware that this is a kind of a brand wanting to kind of fill or kind of enter the kind of the sub-elite content space. But my goal for London Marathon for this year, although it's my first marathon and I know that people are going to say you're aiming for too quick, like it's not going to go this well on your first marathon, I think I need to set a goal that's ambitious for me to want to chase it. I could start off by just saying, oh, a sub 2:25 would be great, but I don't think it would get me excited enough. And with all the kind of the previous years of like the Matt Fox, Nick Bester, sub 220, etc., that's what I want to run. I want to run sub 220. 2:19:59 would be good enough for me. I'd be absolutely chuffed with that. So chasing a lofty goal like sub 220 is something that's going to really motivate me in my training. A small, tiny reason for kind of wanting to run as quick as possible for the marathon is being in the kind of the physical therapy space with like the osteopathy, as I previously mentioned. Is that patients, especially obviously my running patients, one of the first questions they always ask me is, have you run a marathon and what is your time? So having it as quick as possible time, I think it's, I don't know, it's kind of a real kind of good selling point, a USP for my kind of my business and my osteopathy skills and that sort of thing, if that makes sense. So obviously to run as quick as possible is just natural for any sort of runner, but it would also probably, I don't know, help me in my professional life as well. So yeah, 2:19:59 or better would be fantastic. And who knows, it probably won't go as well as I would hope on the first attempt. I think if I just start off with something that's kind of not, it doesn't feel ambitious in my head, I'm just not going to get as motivated to get out the door, to get those kind of hard miles in. So sub 2:20 on the first attempt is pretty unlikely, but I'm going to give it a good bloody go. And I think, and having spoken to some kind of well-established marathon runners, when starting a block or going into marathon training in 14:37 5k shape, I think that indicates that I have the potential to run sub 2:20 if I'm able to replicate the sort of the performance, if that makes sense. So if I'm as good at running 5Ks as I am at running the marathon, then I should be able to kind of get into that kind of low 2:20, just sub 2:20, I think. So that's going to be my goal, and I know that's like kind of a bit of a goal that's thrown around by a lot of content creators, like everyone wants to run sub 2:20, whether it's actually possible or not, but a lot of them is up for debate, but I definitely think it's possible for me, and obviously time will tell with that. I might have egg on my face in a few months' time when I run 2:29 or 2:35 and completely crumble in the marathon. But yeah, 2:20, that's what I want to do. And with the help of a coach, who I still haven't kind of disclosed yet, I think it's definitely possible. Now, I only have the intention of running one marathon this year. It's not like a lot of people where they'll say like do London and then do, I don't even know, like Berlin and then do Valencia. It's not going to be like that at all. And as much as a lot of the content space and a lot of the podcasts that I follow are predominantly marathon runners and they do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 marathons a year, that's not what I'm going to be doing. This is a one and done, or at least one and done for a short period of time marathon for me. I want to do one, see what I can do, and then I'll leave it again for a couple of years, probably at least. Now that may change, obviously I might get the bug and just get absolutely addicted, but kind of moving in to some kind of non-specific goals is that after the marathon I'd then like to kind of return to the track for a little bit and see if I could set another PB on the track, so a new 800 PB or a new 1500 PB. And the reason why I'm not setting a specific time target for those is because my PBs are okay for track running. I think I've run 156 for the 800 and 358 for the 1500. It's because I also don't know how I'll respond to kind of that sort of speed work after a marathon block. But also naturally the next kind of goals that people would set, I'll probably say like a 155 800 and then a 355 1500, which I don't think I'll be able to run that much quicker. If it's going to be a PB, it'll be narrow, and I'm fully happy to chase a small, tiny PB on the track. But yeah, I just think it'll be exciting to kind of do the complete opposite of the marathon training, to get in some more speed work in. I think it'll be good to kind of then restart another cycle with kind of the top end speed sort of training. and then maybe looking to build into longer stuff towards the winter time, you know. So I follow a guy called Steve Magnus, and one thing that he talks a lot about, as much as a lot of other words of wisdom that he says, is talking about this kind of a speed gap. So if you get your top end speed quicker, then suddenly your LT1 will be faster, your LT2 will be faster, etc, etc. Essentially it all kind of like trickles down. If you get faster at your top end speed, then suddenly your economy at all the other speeds will be better and more efficient. So that's the thought process post-marathon, is to almost like restart, work back up from the 800 to the 1500, the 3K, 5K, 10K, so on and so forth. And that's another goal for me, is to kind of return to that and make it interesting, because I've never really enjoyed that top end speed sort of running. We're talking 800 and 1500 meters in terms of top end speed. Obviously it's not a sprint, but as close as middle to long distance runners will get. So yeah, that's a goal for me, to return to the track. And then finally, towards the back end of the year, I really want to do well in the cross country again. Like this year, I've kind of broken into the local Kent leagues, if you like, and managed to get a second and a first, and then win the South of the Thames. I'd like to continue that kind of success, and maybe even see if I can develop it into slightly bigger events. Like, could I get a top 30 performance at Liverpool Cross Challenge, etc, etc. So yeah, that's my my goals for 2025. So please like, subscribe, share with your buddies, and yeah, pretty exciting year. Here's to no more stress fractures. Catch you in the next one.